Good evening. Again, welcome to Let's Talk About It. Of course, Let's Talk About It is a program of Dr. Willie Miles Children's Foundation, and our co-host will be on shortly, Jackie Clements. But while she's getting herself together, I hope you all have had a great week. I've had a splendid week, a very busy one, and I'm just hoping that you all have the same. We have a lot of things that are happening with the company, a lot of great things. Before I get into that, I do want to say that your donations are very important to us, and we can't do any of these programs without your support. Regardless of how little you give, hey, we are appreciative. Send a dollar, do your best. But we're thankful for that. This year has been very fruitful for us. I think many of you all have seen that we are having a lot of meetings throughout the week, and those meetings are, of course.
Good evening, Dr. Miles. How are you?
Yeah, I think it's my situation here. Here I am trying to do so many things and always forgetting to turn on.
There it is. Okay.
Good now. Are we?
We are.
No, we're not. Me too. By one time. You keep talking while I'm getting myself together here.
Okay. I can hear you well, so let me know when you're good.
Hey, I hear you now.
Wonderful.
I'm trying to be so technologically inclined. I'm always trying to make sure that I have everything working. One of our listeners is saying they're frozen. It's frozen, but we're doing fine on this end, aren't we?
Yeah, it was frozen for a moment, but you're not frozen anymore.
Okay, great. Well, again, I'm going to start over then. Welcome, everybody. Jackie, I started a little before you came on.
Okay.
And I want to make sure that we really thank people for signing on with us. They come with us religiously every week. And I'm very excited about that. And they don't have to. They could be anywhere. But I want to share that we're still looking for donations from you all. Again, Jack and I constantly say we can't do anything without you. And we need to make sure that you know that we need your help. All right. So this is what I want to do. I want to share, Jackie, some of the things we're doing this week. And it's very exciting. On tomorrow night, I know you're ready, Jackie, right? And I'm not sure you're going to be there, but it is a Zoom meeting for women only.
All right.
They asked for it, so we're giving it to them.
I will be
women
there.
only.
And when we say women, are we talking parents or just young women? Or
no, it's any woman who can breathe and is over age 21 and higher, because we're talking about unfiltered things. And I have several maybe some doctors who are going to be on with us who are in the mental health capacity, and they're very interested. They're women who are really interested in women relationships and how women feel and so forth. But that's not the end of it. On Thursday night, we have a session for men only. So women, if you have boyfriends, if you have dads, whomever you have, please have them to sign on with us on Thursday night. Now, our meetings are on Zoom. And all of you all should have received invitations and with the Zoom ID and the password and all that kind of stuff. So if you have not, please inbox us. Please inbox us. But I'm going to say that on Wednesday night for women only, on Thursday night for women only, and then, Jackie, we have a youth-filled Saturday.
Right.
Saturday at 1 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
It's girlfriends for girls 12 to 18 years of age. And Jackie, you attended that session last week. How did it go with you?
I thought it was great. I was really impressed with the numbers we had for our first session. And I was also impressed with how open they were in communicating. I mean, obviously we had some who were quiet, but we had a few young ladies who were willing to ask questions and really engage us. And so I'm looking forward to the next session. And I also want to say about the sessions that you're having tomorrow and Thursday. You know, a lot of people are missing that there's a lot of tension and stress going on with COVID. So, you know, in many ways, Dr. Miles, this is therapy. We need to talk. We need to talk outside our homes. And I love that it's a session for, you know, women 21 and older. Some of us have the girlfriend circles where we do it and some of us don't. So this is going to be powerful. So please get the word out. You know of people who are in, and we certainly need to have these conversations.
Yeah, the most important thing is to invite people, and those girls were very active. But one thing I want to say about the groups, you know, we started, and I'll finish up with my announcement so we can get into the topic tonight, is that some people come in incognito, and we're putting a notice out that if you don't want to show your face, we're not going to accept you. We're not going to have any blank screens. I mean, so you need to make sure you got your hair done if that's necessary for you. To us, you can come as you are, because we're not there to judge you. We're there to help you. So again, if you're not going to show your face, I mean, cameras off, just please go to another session, I guess, somewhere else, because I don't think it's fair to our participants to have their faces showing and people seeing them and talking about their own issues, and we don't know who's on there. So please show your face. And this is for all the groups, for all of them.
Right. And Dr. Miles, I want to say, just in case there were, that is a security issue also. When we have a session for young girls, we need to know that there are only young girls on the call. You know, we don't need to have, I mean, it could be anyone. So unfortunately, we do need faces to be shown.
Yeah, we are going to block them if they come on with not putting cameras on. Then on Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock, we have Male Talk. And that is for young men, boys, between the age of 12 to 18. Now, that went extremely well. I do want to say that for the male group, we had some women signed on with us, but they were professional women who was trying to, I guess, screen us, see what we're all talking about. But I want that group to be really gender specific. I want boys to be able to feel they can talk without women hearing what they're saying.
Very important.
Exactly. And then, Jackie, guess what? On Saturday evening at 3 o'clock, we're going to have a support group for the LGBTQIA plus youth. That's for any youth who is questioning. It could be for youth who, it could be for youth who are not even questioning. It's for youth who want to find out more information about the gay community.
May want to support a friend,
right?
You know, a family member, just all sort of options.
Exactly.
The information really is for everyone. So
again, the only rule we have is that you show face and that you be respectful and understand those groups are, you're kind of like private. They're confidential. They are confidential. So you're not going there and see who's talking. So you go into, oh, I saw who was in the gay group. Oh, I saw who was in the male group. Oh, I saw who was. We're adults. So I ask you to respect those people's privacy. And we're looking forward to having a very informed session with everyone. So Jackie, I want to thank you for really working hard with me to get these sessions started. And community, we're responding to you. We are responding. You say you need, I mean, when we first started out, you said you needed to have a adult group for women and for men, and we have that for you now. So at this point, Jackie, I think we have talked enough about our announcements.
Yes.
I want to ask you this. And of course, I'm in Atlanta, and I'm freezing here. I think it's maybe about 32 to 40 degrees here. What is it like in South Florida?
Well, I tell you what, when it's cold in South Florida, you expect it to be cold everywhere else. And it has been cold all day. Rarely am I cold. It's been a very cool day. So inside and out. So it is definitely cool.
Well, we're going to get into this topic tonight about, it's really about female sexuality. And of course, the topic was about masturbation. But Jackie, I want to share with you some feedback I'm getting. And I want to throw this out to our audience. You know, it's kind of interesting. I'm getting some questions as to why are we talking about masturbation with teens, and then why do we separate the boys from the girls?
You know, it's funny. They're almost self-explanatory, one would think. Yeah. So obviously, as we've explained, we talk about these topics because they're important to the development of youth, and they're topics that are not otherwise spoken of, but children are dealing with them and at earlier ages. So what's interesting, Dr. Miles, is people want to talk about the aftermath of not having these discussions, right? Because they have to. They want to talk about the children who have to go to therapy for all sorts of reasons, you know, how they're not succeeding in school. But then when we try to be proactive and you know, discuss these things on the front end, it's why are we doing it? Short answer, because there's a need. Our young people need someone to talk to. Our parents aren't all talking. We have many that are, but all of young people don't have access to an adult who can give them accurate, open, unjudgmental information.
And Jackie, just a point blank, if people don't like those sessions, they don't have to check into us. They don't have to log on to us. We're about people who want to be informed and who want to make sure they're teaching their children the best. And that's what it's all about. Again, I didn't share who I was. I'm Dr. Willie Miles, the president of Dr. Willie Miles Children's Foundation. Children are a priority. And we want to make sure that parents have the information necessary to talk to their children. And it was Jackie's idea that we have a separate session for women to teach parents how to talk to their children, and a separate session for men to teach men how to be fathers and how to be good men. So this is what it's all about. And when people say why, my question is, why not?
Right.
Why not? All right. So again, our services, our programs are unfiltered because we want to deal with the reality of what is happening. So I got that out of the way. But Jackie, this session is much like the boys session. You know, it's like, why we talk about this, not only why we talk about it, but why there's so much mystery around teen sexuality when things are happening before they become teens.
Do you know what I realize this series is about? It's bringing sex out of the closet. You know, sex and sexuality is this big secret. And so we're bringing it out of the closet so that we can make our youth healthier and give them real information and help them understand that they're not broken. This is not a problem. This is normal, healthy behavior, or can be. So, Dr. Miles, I found some of these statistics really interesting.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to start there with some of our survey, and then we can kind of circle back. Youth 11 to 14, when asked, young ladies, do you masturbate? Answer was yes. Part of what I found surprising was how often, 2 or more times daily. Okay. Where do you usually do this? Home, school, bathrooms. What percentage of girlfriends your age admit that? Didn't necessarily get an answer to that, so that's going to be interesting. What age do you start? Again, we were at 11. Parents, let's let that sit for a second. 11, not 15 and 16 or 14. 11, pre-pubescent is what we're talking about. Okay. Let's see. Have you ever had an orgasm? Yes. And all sorts of other questions. You know, asking them how they felt about this, how they feel about their parents not being able to have a conversation with an adult about it. So I wanted to just kind of open with that so they understand that we're dealing with a real population, Dr. Miles.
Well, I want to share with you that all those questions were answered. However, I didn't choose to put their responses there because I don't want people to think that we're promoting, you know, that children should masturbate. It is a human sexuality issue. It's a human issue. But I can hear some people, oh my God, they're saying that the girls should masturbate. I will share with you, there is one expert that says they should, and often talking about women's sexuality. But I don't want to get into that. I want to stay strictly children's focus. But you know, when you talk about,
it's like saying, you know, we're promoting that girls should have periods,
right?
You know, their menstrual cycles. It's life.
Yeah, but sexuality is, and you said it's about life. Sexuality is a part of your child, and it's a part of who they are. And you know, it's kind of amazing that as parents, we squirmish away from it. You know, it's kind of amazing. We don't want to talk about it, but television talks about it. Everyone else talks about it. But,
your child is probably inundated with it.
But we can't talk about it because it's just too much.
We talk about it in a healthy, informative format.
And I would say, if you think we too much, well, start monitoring television, start monitoring their phones, and you will find out that guess what? This is not too much, and we're late.
I was about to say, we're late to the party.
Yeah, we're late in talking to our children about this. And this whole thing about, and we're not talking about just masturbation, we're talking about sexuality. That it's their feelings. You know, one person described it this way, Jackie, which I thought it was wonderful. They said that it is normal and logical because children want to find out what parts of their body works. And I thought about that. Do you know that we don't tell our kids how the vaginas and our penis work? We talk about everything else. And we never cover that part.
No.
And I said, wow.
And, you know, I'm looking forward to discussing that in the sessions tomorrow. And of course, having you discuss it with the gentleman on Thursday, because the question is why? Why, even as adults, do we, you know, have this stigma around sex?
When it comes to children, we have the stigma.
When it comes to children, we have the stigma. I mean,
but when it comes to us,
have the stigma, period.
Yeah.
I mean, the child got here, and so they want to understand. But I want people to also understand we are promoting open communication about teenage sexuality. That's the goal of this. Should I continue, Dr. Mel?
Yeah, but one thing I want to do, I want to like hang around the data kind of quickly, because what I don't want to do, I want to just give it to them. I want to talk about it. I want to talk about the data. I want to talk about, you know, this whole thing of puberty. I want to talk about why is it that we can't support our children by talking openly? Why is it we can't? And it's not the why we can't. It is you should be supporting talking to your children openly, because your children trust you. And if they don't get the information from you, they're going to get it from some other source, which may be faulty. Well,
Dr. Miles, that's where I am. Like, okay, you're not talking about it. Who would you prefer they speak to? Or do you really have your head in the sand and you think that this human being, this young man, this young lady, are going to grow up without ever addressing the issue of sex or sexuality or you know, knowing their bodies?
Well, you know, the sad reality, and let's just stick here, because I'm not going to rush through this and until I start rushing when it's time to leave. But this hour we spend, Jackie, we need like 4 or 5 or 6 hours to fully talk about this and explain to parents why this is critically important. We're talking about being ashamed and shy to talk to our children who we gave birth to about their bodies. And we start squirming when we talk about penis and vagina. We squirm, and parents almost like lose their breath, saying, I can't possibly talk about that kind of stuff in front of my children. But my point is, well, you can't talk about it, but someone is. And Jackie,
then you're upset when someone does.
But the other part about it is that we're talking about 12. In our last week's session, we talked about kids start exploring their bodies, and they actually start seeing porn by age 6 and 7. And parents are saying, not in my house, you're right. Outside your house. Outside your house.
Right.
At the library. At school.
With
their friends.
I mean, just imagine. They're at school. They have cell phones. They go into the bathroom. I mean, do you really think they're not exploring the world around them? That thing is that information is not getting to them, be it intentionally or accidentally. Trust that it is. And that's the point. And guess what? Ignorance is dangerous. It's unhealthy. It's dangerous. And our message to everyone, whether you're a parent, a guardian, an aunt, a big brother, a big sister, is that the young people in your life really cannot afford to be ignorant just about their own bodies.
Exactly. And that's what it's really all about. But let this marinate a bit, Jackie. We talk about everything else, right? How your hair should look, the clothing you should wear, and we'll talk about every external limb. And we'll talk about the arms and fingernails, and then we go down to the hips and legs and the toes. But what about the middle part?
What about the part that matters?
Why we can't talk? And Jackie, sort of the research shows, it's kind of interesting. They said that with boys, we have the external, where we can touch it, but girls have an internal, so therefore they're seeking. And it takes a mother to talk to their daughter about their anatomy,
exactly
how it works, and what you're gonna feel, because evidently you felt something because you got a child,
right?
So maybe that's an assumption that you feel something. My only point, though, is that it's important that you feel comfortable in talking to your children about the most normal thing that happens. And the kids are not there saying, Jackie, oh, I want to have sex. They're curious. They're curious about how their body works.
Right. The sex actually, or having sex at early ages, as we talked about last week, is often the result of not having information and exploring things and seeking information that you could have given them in a healthier, safer setting, so that they don't, they're not curious about other things, especially at an early age.
But I'm not. My goal is, our goal is never to pit men against women. But I would think, though, that women would want to have that conversation, because women are always kind of profiled and put in this picture and this thing with men. You know what I'm saying? And there should be conversations with girls about how not to let that happen, and that you're more than just a sex object, and that your goal's not here to be pleasing them. So again, our topic,
and it also has to be more than just say no, which is also part of the research. You can't go, oh no, if a boy tells you, oh no, you have to say no. Oh no, you can't do this. They're people. They're going to develop. and they're going to be curious, and they're going to eventually have an interest in dating and meeting people and having relationships. So again, the earlier the better. I think one of the issues, Dr. Miles, is people don't realize that sexuality isn't just about sex. And I think that's what we keep trying to tell you. Mm-hmm. Sexuality is not just about sex. It's also about how your child feels about their developing body. It's about whether or not they're making healthy decisions and choices about their own bodies, which is really a whole topic. It's about whether or not they understand and express feelings of intimacy, attraction, and affection for others. What's appropriate, what's not. Again, if you don't know, you simply don't know.
Hold on a second. I could talk an hour about each of those, and I want you to, like, when you do those, just give me a few moments, because those are just some really poignant pieces that are part of the conversation, and it's part of what we're talking about. We're talking about parents having the energy and having the fortitude and having the knowledge to share information with their children.
And having a plan, Dr. Mike.
Most certainly. I agree totally. A plan. And it's kind of interesting when you said a plan. It's like, well, there is a manual if you just read it. There's a manual on all this stuff. But we have to want to, first of all. I think it's kind of interesting. And just give me a second here. What would it feel like for the parent and the child, for the parent to say, let's talk about sexuality? First of all, the child probably drop out of this chair to my mom or dad. I don't want to talk about that with you. But no, you're going to talk about it with me, because I'm going to give you the facts on it.
And again, you just hit on something. Let's talk about sexuality. That child is going to think you're talking about sex. And
yes.
We need to explain that very early on, what we just said. Sexuality and sex are not the same thing.
They are totally different.
But they're connected. And when you talk about, sexuality, you can help your child then grow into healthy sexual relationships, or relationships that engage sex at the appropriate time. That information, again, our research last week said that when children have information, they don't go seeking answers at the wrong time in the wrong places.
Right. And you're absolutely right. And the other part of this is making sure that the I'm going to call them children, the youth, receive accurate and reliable information. Let me give you like a scenario. In counseling a young boy who had committed some acts that he shouldn't have committed with relatives, and talking with him, he said that I thought, a 12-year-old now, I thought that babies come out of women's behind. Does it? But his parents have had to talk with him. He said
they did have to talk?
Yes. I'm not sure which talk they had.
Right. I was going to say, well, what talk did they have if he still had this misunderstanding?
But see, that's the problem. When parents give these elusive comments about reality and think the child gets it, he ain't getting it. They're like, you know what I'm talking about?
But Dr. Miles, okay, you're hitting on another point. A lot of times the talk is, don't force yourself. Make sure you wear,
right.
A condom, things like that. They're not talking about sexuality, the human body. They're talking about sex. And we have to make that distinction.
But, I thought, Jackie, and again, maybe I'm just old school. I thought that women talk to their children, the girls, about this. I guess you'd say, like, what is this? About their sexuality. But we're discovering they are talking about something totally different.
No, I think that many young girls get the same conversation, the sex talk, meaning keep your legs closed.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be fast. Don't be.
And what does fast mean? What does fast mean?
Sexually promiscuous.
But hold 1 second there. Now, the issue is that if parents talk to their children, their daughters, and say, the feeling you have is normal. It is a normal feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But,
and here's when and how
exactly.
those feelings should be expressed.
No, girl, you just fast. Keep your legs closed. Well, we are teaching our children incorrectly. And when she becomes pregnant, if she does, the question is, but you told her to keep her legs closed. You didn't say all the time. So I think we need to just relax
Dr. Miles.
and have the
All the
conversation, because our kids are far beyond us. And Jack, you know, this really kind of like bothers me a little bit, because I'm saying, and it's not just girls, it's boys also, but our conversation is about girls tonight. It's about girls.
And Dr. Miles, I can tell you, you know, you will like this fact. These were issues that we dealt with Children's Defense Fund, CDF Freedom Schools, another program that was very open and honest, but committed to educating young people appropriately about themselves, okay, which includes, you know, information about sex and sexuality. And so what we discovered then is that young people are dating, like in intimate relationships, at the age of 9, okay? Finding ways to spend time together alone. You know, in certain communities, children are home alone. They may be monitored by an older sibling who's also engaging in a relationship. And I will tell you, you know, this is probably going back 10, 11, 12 years. I was shocked that young people were, you know, far advanced than I expected. And so at 9, what are you, 3rd grade?
Yep.
3rd, 4th grade, something like that. So yeah, this is happening early on.
But let's talk about why they are yearning this attention. Let's talk about why they are yearning this affection. Let's talk about why they're yearning this need to feel close to and belong. Because many of our parents very rarely tell their kids they love them. Many parents very rarely embrace their children. Many parents very rarely tell their children, you're going to be somebody and I'm proud of you. So when you don't tell your children those kind of things, Jackie, what happens? They seek it from someone else. Our children seek validation from us. And if we don't give them validation, guess what? You're going to have this early sex. You're going to have this early boyfriend, girlfriend thing. You're going to have this need that says, I need somebody to love me. When children understand that their parents love them because they've embraced them and they tell them that, they don't seek the validation from anybody else.
Right. And I want to add this, although it's a different topic. It's not just that. Are we giving them some alternatives for their time in their areas of interest? You know how many kids are sitting at home? You know, they're not going to the parks. They're not engaged in extracurriculars. And, you know, maybe parents are having a hard time or they feel that those things always cost, but they don't. There's so many ways to, you know, engage your child in their areas of interest. So to some degree, we're not just talking about the absence of affection, of expressed affection and information. We're talking about an idle mind.
Well, you know, it's kind of amazing when you talk about the idle minds. You start looking at the people, or the children who have the idle minds. And I'm not just saying this; it really is research proven. When you have kids from low socioeconomic levels who don't have as much as their children, oftentimes they are bored. They are bored. But I often tell parents this, that children don't listen to what you say, they look at what you do. So when they see you all cuddle up with Boo Boo, y'all with me, you know,
of course,
they say, I want to do the same thing. When they see you all dressing provocatively, the girls start thinking, well, that's what she does to get a man, I'll do that too. But I have this sneaking suspicion that when we have this for women only, some of the conversation is going to be about, what is this womanhood thing? And some of the same thing we're talking about telling their daughters tonight, some of the things they don't even know themselves.
Right. Again, the need for the conversations, because, you know, there are multiple generations where these kind of conversations were not being had. There are people right now who are about to faint because these conversations are being had. And again, we're just trying to bring these things out of the closet, not because we don't have anything else to do, but because we're seeing children suffer from lack of basic information.
Jackie, you're aware I wrote a book about maybe 5 or 6 years ago. It's an older book, and it was for boys who didn't have dads at home. And what I was shocked by, I let men read the book, and I also let the book go into prisons. What we found out, the men said, I wish I had this when I was younger.
Right.
We're talking about basics on how to bathe.
Right.
If you're uncircumcised, how to clean yourself.
Right.
So I'm saying that, so you're on the right track when you said, let's talk to the parents about how to do it first. And maybe they'll feel more comfortable in talking to their children. But I want to emphasize again that if parents don't feel comfortable talking about these subject matters, somebody does feel comfortable. Somebody does feel comfortable.
And they depend on the fact that the children have not otherwise had these conversations. Think about it. It's a blank slate. They can fill it with whatever they choose to fill it with. So they can tell your daughter or son that this is very normal. Me and all my friends do this. And there's nothing to counter it. Not an argument that says, well, that's not what my parents said. That's not what I've heard.
Jackie, I'm talking about, I counsel girls, boys, and adults. And it's sad that I'm discovering that some women are not even talking to their daughter about their menstrual cycles.
Right. It does happen, Dr. Miles.
I just don't get it.
Again, old concepts, misguided ideas, and honestly, not parenting with deliberate intention, as we often say.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a new thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I also feel that a lot of us came to the table with, parenting concepts that our parents had, right? Well, those concepts were a couple of decades old, and they were a couple of decades before them. So a lot of us are parenting with turn of the century concepts about relationships. And it's like that story you hear about the family who had a tradition of cutting half the turkey and throwing it out.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, I don't know, my mother always did it. And so then they ask, okay, well, Grandma, why you do it? Well, I don't know, my mother always did. And they finally got to great grandma. She said, well, I don't know why they did it. I did it because I didn't have a pan big enough. And so again, we're not questioning why we're doing some of these things, and we need to see if it's still relevant. Do we still need to hold this information back? Did they need to hold it back then? There's a big difference. Just keep in mind, your parents, your grandparents, you weren't holding a computer in your hand. You didn't have access. If it wasn't printed, if it wasn't in your house, more than likely you didn't have access to it. Everybody brings a phone to school. People didn't necessarily bring magazines to school or sneak them to school.
Right.
So it's just a different world. And for parents who are wondering, that's why we have to talk about it and talk about it sooner, because your child has access to the World Wide Web. And it's worldwide.
And we all know that everything on the web ain't true. It's not factual.
It's not censored.
Exactly. So let's move to open communications.
Okay.
And why that's so important.
Okay, so promoting open communication about teenage sexuality. Your child will learn about sexuality at school, talk about it with their friends, and get information about it online and through social media. But young people do not trust the information they get from their parents. If you talk about sex and sexuality with your child, it will help him or her sort through many messages they get about sexuality.
What are some like some hints that children give parents that says it's time to have a talk, not just on the phone? Yeah, I'm talking about if a child says, can we talk about sex? What's on your mind? We ain't talking about that. I'm saying my point is that the child makes an effort, and the parent says, no, we ain't gonna talk about that. Because and I'm not going there. It ain't biblical. The whole point is that we have to be open. We have to feel comfortable, and we must have the content. I think that parents have it, and I don't think they have to go to college to talk about it. Parents know how the tools work, and they need to tell their kids how the tools work. They need to show their kids but tell their kids the game. You're going to have these emotions. You're going to have these feelings. You may do A, B, and C. Don't be afraid. I want you to be open and talk to me about that. It's normal to have those kind of feelings. It's normal to have those kind of emotions. But gotta be careful.
But you have to know how and when to act or not act on them. And Dr. Miles, you're right. Our parents certainly have experienced these things. I will tell you, I'm a big proponent of resources.
Mm-hmm.
Use some resources, and that way it kind of at least gives the parent a jumping point, but it also can fill in blanks that parents might not have. I mean, again, we'll know more after our session tomorrow night, but there's just a ton of resources out there, you know.
But, you know, Jackie, you know what's interesting? We say that a lot, you know that, and I say that, but I see the parents who, to tell them get some resources, they're not doing that. They're not going to do it. And that's why I'm saying just go cold turkey. I'm saying, and we tell them their books, they didn't go to school. They didn't finish school. And I'm saying, we can say there's a mountain load of research, and there's a mountain load of information. But guess what? The parents who are struggling, the parents who are working 2 or 3 jobs, the parents who feel like there are other means to get money, they're not going to go to the library.
How about we Google a question?
Yeah. Well, can I share with you? That sounds very simple to us.
True.
But the reality to them, to people, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. They're not going to Google because they're not accustomed to Google. Don't forget, they're from another world also. Their phone is strictly for communications, calling people and being on Facebook. And I'm not minimizing. I don't mean to insult anybody. But I'm saying that's really it.
Yeah.
Because parents will call and ask you what's somebody's phone number. I'm saying, well, guess what? Just Google it.
And you know something, we've often heard parents say that it's someone else's job to teach. I parent, I feed them, I put clothes on their back, you teach them. And I want to say again that is a huge mistake. First of all, our formal public school systems will never, not even attempting to teach your child everything they need to know to be functional in this world. And that is the purpose of education. They're barely getting through academics, so they're certainly not getting through the other information. But parents have to get off that, Dr. Miles. They have to leave this concept.
Well, like you said before, it's part of their upbringing. It's part of what they believe. And the issue is that if they are afraid of institutions, they're afraid of things that are part of education, they most certainly are not going to flock to those places to get it. And the kids are more apt to do it. And that's why we said that children are a priority. But we're going to focus on getting the children information, and then maybe they can take it back to the families. But we've seen historically, that parents are not going to research it. And to feel that it's somebody else's responsibility is really violating your duties as a parent. But again, it's not violating it if you don't know why. You know, if I think the schools is supposed to do this, guess what? Well, somebody told them that, and they feel that way. But we're saying it is not the school's responsibility to raise our children. The school's responsibility is to teach those children basically and to enhance what they've learned at home. If they ain't learned nothing at home, they probably ain't gonna learn too much at school.
Right. Absolutely. Another conversation on another night. But intentional parenting is what this is about. We also can't eliminate the importance of a teen being able to think critically when it comes to these things, Dr. Miles.
Yeah, it's just so important that the parents guide the conversation and at least open the door. Open the door doesn't mean like, you want to talk about sex? The child said no. Versus, come here, let's sit down and talk. I want to talk to you about sexuality because you're old enough now. I want to talk to you about this because it's very serious. And if you make a mistake, it could affect the rest of your life. You know, so once you make a mistake sexually, and I'll define what I'm not saying necessarily a mistake, you're gonna have the rest of your life to deal with it. So let's talk about how these things work. Let's talk about how to avoid some of those things. And I want you to be very open with me because I'm very comfortable with the conversation. Are you comfortable with the conversation? No, I ain't too comfortable. Well, you'll get comfortable because we're gonna keep talking.
Right. And one other, important fact to make that such is to start before these are, behaviors. We start before they're in place. If you're having conversations with young people who are clueless, it's okay. So they're clueless. Great. Right. You're lucky. You're on time. You can form those ideas. And as they grow up, first of all, they'll be comfortable speaking to you because it's something that will already be in place. Second of all, they'll have information now ahead of when they need it. And so third, continuing those conversations becomes a lot easier.
Jackie, just to say don't do it. When parents tell us not to do it, what we going to do?
Go do it.
I'm going to do it. So the saying no.
What is it my parents don't want me to know?
It just doesn't work. So there are many ways you can also, many things you can do to sort of like capture the conversation, for lack of better words. When television programs come on and you see intimacy, so let's talk about that. When radio are playing all kinds of music kid hears, let's talk about that. embellish upon those things that are around you already. So you don't have to go and create a curriculum because the world already gave you one.
Right. And
Just take it.
also notice your child's reaction
Yes.
to, you know, things that commercials. I can share a personal story. The kids weren't 10, I can tell you that. And it was a commercial about Toy Story. Toy Story on Disney. You know, you're watching Disney morning cartoons. And the little Ken said, "I like your scarf," or something like that. And the little Barbie said, "I like your ass, Scott." And I about fainted. I mean, Saturday morning. So again, sexual innuendo is even in their cartoons. It's in their toys. I could not believe Disney allowed something like that. And I'm thinking at the time I wanted to cover my kids' ears and say, "You did not hear that."
Well, guess what? But there's another one that I actually use this in teaching the college courses I used to teach. And I didn't realize that this was really an issue until I saw this. And these are the subliminal messages that we allow things to send our children. And it's the story of Snow White. And is it Snow White in the 3 drawers? And in the dwarfs? They said, first of all, a girl is kidnapped by some short men. That's traumatizing.
I think they found her. They didn't kidnap her. But
well,
yes.
the whole point is that these stories embellish domestic violence. It embellishes being kidnapped. And we put our kids in front of TV. Why Snow White? Well, you can tell I don't know the story of Snow White, but the point is that kidnapped, she goes to sleep, and all kinds of things happen. So but the point is that parents, we have to be aware. I didn't say be scary. I didn't say sneak around bushes saying what your child is doing. I'm talking about having conversations with your children about your children. It's just real simple.
Also, Dr. Miles, to your point, all of the Disney stories around Disney princesses involve those princesses looking for or seeking male attention.
Well, that's another, let's talk about it. The images of Disney World. But parents, I hope you all understand what we're talking about. We're talking about you saying that somebody else ought to do for your child what you're not willing to do.
Right. They're inundated with these messages, and you've got to engage. And, you know, another thing I want to throw out, Dr. Miles, I hope parents are spending some time thinking what they want their children to know, think, and believe. Like,
that's a good point.
Are you trying to pass on?
That's a good point.
How do you want your sons, your daughter to approach maturing, you know, and having relationships,
right?
You know, dating? Who do you want them to be at that time? And then have you asked yourself, when do I need, if I want them this way at 16, when do I need to start that training?
Check it.
When do I need to start planting those ideas?
That's a very good point you just made. A very good point. What are our values toward these things? And not the values of you're gonna go blind. I'm talking about what do we want our kids to have? We want them to have healthy sexuality. We want to make sure that we don't exaggerate and scare them to death. You know, whereas
and don't even try that. Do what I say and not what I do, because that's not happening in the age of handheld computers. It's just not happening.
Let's talk about that for a second, and we're getting close to our time. But in both sessions, the children said, in both the girls' session and in the boys' session, they said, Dr. Miles, you and the girls, they said, why do parents say, do it because I say do it? Or I don't want you to suffer what I suffered. But the kids say, we don't know what they suffered.
Right. All we know is you're trying to stop me from living. She's trying to stop me from being normal. Yes.
So parents, we're just sharing this with you so that you can know what kids are saying. They're not telling you. They said, well, they'll tell us. They said, what does she mean when she said, I'm just doing these things because I don't want you to go through what I've been through?
How you suffered. You're not telling them about bad relationships.
Right.
You're not telling them about, you know, their date rape was a very common thing back then. You're not talking about that because you think you're protecting them when in fact you're kind of creating that. And so often, Dr. Miles, probably our audience and everyone can relate to this, you end up repeating things that did happen to your parents because you didn't even know.
Right.
You know, life sometimes plays out again and you had no idea. So again, information is the way to avoid that, parents, not avoidance itself.
You know, one thing I saw, Jackie, also was very interesting is that, you know, in our, as we began to research this topic about girls and masturbation, one thing it said I thought was so amazing, and it didn't, I don't know why it didn't hit me. It says, talk to your children about porn before they ever see it. Have the discussion.
Let them know what it is.
And I don't think it's just about porn. I think it's about everything. Have the discussion before they see stuff. So when they see it, they can put it into perspective.
Right. And you've already begun to shape their values on it. Right. This is something I want to see. This is something I shouldn't see. Because without information, curiosity is going to lead. And they will watch and engage. And, you know, Dr. Miles, we haven't mentioned this point, but a lot of times once a child starts a sexual behavior, whether it is, you know, whatever it is, it becomes difficult then to reprogram
its habit,
that behavior.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Parents, so once it happens, check, I want to give our audience an opportunity to actually text in the chat box some questions, our comments. You know, you're out there. And again, we get so caught up in giving you the information. I want to give you the opportunity to actually ask us some questions, and we'll try to answer them as much as possible. But we see the importance of good parent relationships and open communications with your children about everything. Because if you don't have the conversation, finish it up for me, somebody will.
And Dr. Miles, don't forget, I issued a challenge last week.
Yeah.
I wonder if any of our parents actually, you know, took that challenge and began to have conversations with their children about sexuality, about just their bodies. You can leave sex out. Let's just talk about.
Since some parents were not on last week, so give them what the challenge was and see if they can respond. The
challenge was over the next 7 days between now and the next meeting, begin to have these conversations with your children. Don't make it a 1 month. I'm going to do it when they're, you know, next year. Start now. Take the information that you're acquiring from these conversations, do a little research of your own, or just begin to have the conversations. Break your own nervousness, and then let us know, you know, obviously not details, but that you started, that it went well, that, you know, it was awkward, but you felt good about opening the door, etc., etc. We have to share information with other parents, but we also have to get started.
I think also we should put out there too, and we didn't do this earlier, that masturbation is healthy. It is not harmful. It only becomes harmful if it becomes excessive, when the child begins to isolate, and that's all they prefer to do, which means it begins to affect their social interaction. So nothing's going to happen to her because she does it. Nothing's going to happen to her. 2, that is part of normal development. 3, don't make a big issue of it, because if you do, all you're doing is enhancing the behavior.
And Dr. Miles, you mentioned something that honestly was so disturbing to me. I think it may have been 2 weeks ago, that parents are trying to catch their children in the act and stop. I was really a bit traumatized.
Yeah, it's like they were committing a crime and they would penalize them for it. Now, these are actual cases I'm talking about. This is not something these are actual cases that I treat. One parent actually caught her son and then put cameras in his room. What a violation of privacy. And then
what human doesn't need some privacy?
But what is she creating, though? What
right.
she's creating is a person who goes in secrecy.
I was about to say. And again, once you start down that road, what else are you doing in secrecy?
Well, I can tell you exactly. I can tell you what you're creating, but I don't want to say it here. And you don't want to do that. I'm talking about rapists. I'm talking about girls and guys who are afraid to have sex, and they become serial sexists. They just have sex all the time.
You've demonized it at that point.
Exactly.
You've demonized a natural human, function.
Right.
So how else could, that play out? This is bad. I can't do it openly. I can't do it in, not that, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I can't do this as normal behavior. And so obviously it becomes secretive behavior.
Bernice Dixon, we appreciate your comments. We saw Faithful Father on, and many of you all, I know you're all listening intently, because I know that this is conversation you're probably not going to get anywhere else except on Let's Talk About It. And that's why we do it.
Tell you what, I'd like to know how many of our listeners had conversations with their parents. If people could just put a yes or a no.
With their parents or their children?
With their parents, because again,
Oh, you said how many of their parents talk to them?
How many of their parents talk to them
Yeah.
growing up?
If your parent talked to you, just say yes. Text in yes.
Yeah, a yes, a no, because that's what started your discomfort with it, because perhaps you didn't have conversations. And again, we want to break that cycle.
Right. But I think also we should celebrate our children and let our children know, thank you, Mary Holly, let our children know that there's nothing wrong with them. And their bodies are great. They ought to celebrate their bodies. They should celebrate every part of their body. We should not make anything mysterious about their body. I'm gonna stop saying I don't get it, because I really do get it.
Right.
I treat this, I just understand why it happens. Parents do not feel comfortable. There are some parents who believe that it's against religion. It's some parents who just don't want to have the conversation because they don't feel comfortable. And they think they're promoting the kid to have sex, when all they're promoting is healthy sexuality. Jackie.
Right. Well, and you just brought up something, to have a healthy conversation at home and then to go to a church that maybe approaches it differently. And unfortunately, we've seen many institutions in society treat male sexual behavior one way and female sexual behavior another way. So that doesn't promote healthiness on either side. So who's around your children? Who are your friends? Who are, your mentors? Who are their godparents? Like,
Yeah, Jackie. I like to encourage parents, especially female parents, to study their own anatomy. And the next conversation they have with their daughters of age is talk about their anatomy, talk about their vagina, the parts of it, how it works, and not make it secret anymore. Because what happens if you tell your daughter, guess what she's going to do? She's going to go and share it with another girl. And
Dr. Miles, I can confirm that happens all the time. You may end up being that parent that is open about it, open about relationships, open about the fact that your children are one day going to be sexually active. Most of you probably want grandchildren sooner or later. So that doesn't just happen one day. But yes.
But Jack, I think we gotta be careful with this also. They gotta be careful. Don't assume that your daughter is gonna have sex with a boy. So don't make those kind of assumptions. Don't even approach it that way. Just talk about how their vagina works. And
being comfortable with your own body.
I talk to boys about how their penis works, where the sensitivity areas are. We must get our heads out of the sand and become sexually enlightened so that our kids can feel comfortable with the content and they can share information with other young people. And therefore, we're helping more than just one person. We're helping more than our child.
And we have to get our heads out of the sand to be active protectors of our youth. We can't just say we love them. We can't just say, we have to act it. And so if we are going to be caregivers and look to produce healthy young people, then we're going to have to, discard our own discomfort and have those conversations.
Yeah, I have a case where the mother has a boyfriend and her sons are always at her door trying to hear what they're doing. I told her, let's go and squelch their curiosity. Let's tell them. Let's talk about this right here. Because what happens, they may think somebody in the room killing you. Yeah, are you with me? Because kids don't know.
They have no idea.
They all hear sounds, and they may think somebody's hurting you. So I'm saying, let's just become a little bit more free. Breathe in, hold it, exhale.
And Dr. Miles, I'm going to say this because I can just imagine some people online go, are you saying to tell them what I do sexually? No, we're not. We're saying to tell them what is normal and healthy in a healthy adult relationship, right? Because again, if they're at the door, chances are they're already masturbating. So just talk about what is normal and healthy. You can use generic terms like intimacy, you know, because guess what? They're already at the door. They already know. But now you can take away the mystery, keep them away from the door by just sharing that you're in a healthy relationship.
I'm thinking that some of them know, but I think some of the kids don't know. I think they actually think their parent may be in danger. And that's why I told her. Because the issue is that if somebody is screaming, you know what the screaming of joy, kids can't know what's joy or somebody's harming them. So I tell parents, don't assume that they're trying to see what you're doing unless you're doing it every night and with different people. but make sure that you explain to them. That's all we're talking about. Have a open communication with your children, but before you can do that, Jackie, the parent has to feel comfortable. I want to take a little time, Jack, if we want to close out, I want to share, I want to take a little time to talk about tomorrow night. People, please share with your friends and girlfriends and whatever else. Tomorrow night at 7 o'clock for women only. And our marketer put on there, Jackie, something like a place where the ladies meet or something like that. I don't know. It's a nice little phrase, but it is going to be, I think it'll be a great meeting. And we're not looking just for numbers. You know, we're not like church, like you got to have 1,500 people there. Whoever comes on, we're going to talk to them. I'll be there from a therapeutic perspective. We'll have other women there actually leading the conversation. And that's sort of how it's going to work. All right.
Yeah, so, and we'll let them know that there's actually some things we don't say on these shows that we will be able to say on those shows.
And all these, and I do want to share, Jackie, that everything we do is so that to help women and men become better parents. Everything we do. So all these programs are having for ladies only. It ain't just for y'all to party. It ain't just for y'all like to say, oh, help me feel good. It's about helping you feel better so you can be a better parent to your children. And you can
because everything we do is focused on making youth better.
Making youth, exactly. So
that is always the focus.
You know, we always, I'm stop saying we run out of time. We don't run out of time, but our time is almost up. So you want to close out with any comments or announcements?
Again, I'm just hoping everyone meets us. You know, Dr. Miles, we should start maybe posting our notes on the on our Instagram page so that it's a resource for our parents.
Now you're asking for too much.
Sorry. Well, we'll find a way, parents. Matter of fact, if you want it, you know, reach out to us and we'll find a way to get you these notes because we've done some of this research and we can.
I just say I ain't giving them nothing. They need to come to our program. I think they need to get themselves.
That's
I'm not putting. They need to come up on Tuesday.
You mean on Tuesdays?
On Tuesday nights, I'm not giving you nothing else, people. On Tuesday nights, you're working hard enough already. Tuesday nights, get the information. You can share with your colleagues and your friends. Take notes as we're talking. On tomorrow night, just come with a lot of questions and comments, and feel free to discuss women issues. And the topic is, it's not the only topic, is, do you know what you really want?
Right. And I do want to close out on this because I know sometimes we open with it. We want our audience to look for ways to help us to continue to support our conversations and our youth. You may know of companies out there that are supporting these efforts. You may want to support the effort yourself. But, you know, we are committed to doing this, but there's so much more that we could be doing. And we are looking, again, to continue to support. Don't forget, Dr. Miles, we're still going to be supporting smaller community-based organizations and youth efforts.
Yeah.
So we have that going on. And then, of course, we want to grow and expand our services.
And we'd be
Keep us in mind.
And we'd be remiss to say it is Black History Month. The reason I didn't pay too much attention to it because I do this every day. And I'm happy that we have 1 month that designated. But for those who need it, happy Black History Month and make the best of it. But let's try to make this thing every day. And because we like Black people doesn't mean we don't like other people.
Like other people.
All right, so let's make sure we get that clear. Because, you know, because we like ourselves doesn't mean we don't like other people. And self-hatred is really genocide. So whoever you are, whether you're Black, white, Hispanic, Latino, whatever else, you ought to love yourself. Love yourself.
And when we say children, we mean all children.
Exactly. This has been great. We'll see you tomorrow night. The rest of the week, we'll see the youth on this coming Saturday. Tell your youth, go to your churches, sororities, fraternities, have those youth tune into us. I'm going to actually send out another announcement tonight for all the meetings. So again, Jackie, thanks again. I enjoyed this session. We hope the parents are being blessed by it.
Thank you. Have a good night.
See you.